Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, Giannis has finally had it in Milwaukee. Could the Bucks star be moved before the trade deadline? And if so, where will he be playing next? Plus, LeBron James plays what could be his final game in Cleveland tonight. We'll take a look back on what he meant to the Cavs organization, whether or not he could wear a Cavs jersey one more time before his career is over. All of it is coming up on a fun episode of Locked On NBA Daily.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. However you're tuning in on YouTube or on your podcast app, thanks for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. I'm Wes Goldberg. Today, we're talking about Giannis seemingly on his way out of Milwaukee. What could be LeBron's last game in Cleveland, and a questionable statement by Doc Rivers. We're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have one of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Bulls podcast, Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report. It's Haize.
What's going on, people? I get a great opportunity to be petty about the Bucks today. I love it.
It is a lot of Bucks talk right now. We have breaking news right before we started recording. Shams reporting the following, quote, two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo is ready for a new home at the February 5th NBA trade deadline or in the offseason, as several rival teams make aggressive offers to the Milwaukee Bucks for him, and the franchise is starting to listen. League sources tell ESPN, end quote. Haize, like I said, this broke right before we started recording here. We've only had a few minutes to really digest this, but we have also been talking about a Giannis trade for a very long time. Are you surprised that we got this report here now with less than 10 days to go before the trade deadline?
Man, a little bit, because I really did feel like that they were going to wait this thing out into the offseason at this point. That's what it felt like it was going to for me. But I'm glad that they've arrived here. Like you said, a week before the trade deadline, that gives teams a chance to put in offers. And unlike the Dallas Mavericks, I'm sure they're going to actually start a bidding war so they can get the most back for their star.
The petty starting right off the bat there. But so the Bucks right now are 18-27. Giannis is talking about being out 4 to 6 weeks with this latest calf injury. We all know where this Bucks season is going. It's going nowhere. They don't got it. The championship window is closed. It's probably been closed for a couple of years, honestly. But the fact that I guess Milwaukee is now opening to listening to offers, I'm not really sure what changed over the last few days. Like, I think it might be the right thing to start listening to offers. And to be clear, this report says before the deadline or potential in the offseason. But if they're starting to listen to offers now, then it does become a possibility that Giannis has moved over the next few days. I don't know what really changed from Milwaukee. They've had to know they didn't have it this entire time. Giannis has been hurt for a few days now. Is this just a matter of maybe teams calling the Bucks and just saying, like, hey, like, bleep or get off the pot. Like, here's what we have to offer you, and we can offer it to you right now. Like, I do wonder what the Milwaukee Bucks are hearing from rival front offices, potentially, if anything, that might have changed their mind about this. Or maybe I guess the obvious thing is maybe Giannis changed his mind.
Yeah, maybe Giannis changed his mind, especially, I mean, we did over, a couple of days ago, we heard that maybe the Milwaukee Bucks, we're looking at it like, hey, we have a chance to get a top 10 pick with Giannis being out because their season's going to be done by the time he comes back. And maybe that just offered everybody some clarity. Maybe stepping away and taking a step back, which Giannis was forced to do with the injury, just help clarity for everybody. And, sometimes that's what happens. But the Bucks sitting in a situation in a very deep draft in 2026. They do have their own first-round pick this year, so they have the benefit of that. You can stack the deck. If you get more picks in the 2026 draft, I think even if you get picks into 18 to 20, 25, 22-ish, you can still get a starting level talent. So for a Bucks team that's never really been a free agent destination, they're always going to have to draft their players if they want to star. This is probably the best opportunity for them to pivot in a deep draft and get multiple bites at the apple.
And to your point, right? Like, they don't have control of their pick. They have it's involved in a swap that goes to Atlanta. It's the worst of their pick, or the Pelicans pick goes to the Atlanta Hawks. But the Pelicans are so bad that the second worst pick out of those two picks might be a pretty bad pick, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're gonna have a chance at what is a draft class with 3 or 4 guys who are, could be #1 picks in a lot of other type of draft classes too. So I do get it. Maybe there is part of this of, hey, everybody kind of stepped away and reevaluated things over the last couple of days. I also do look at the language of this, Haize. Giannis told Sam Amick a couple weeks ago that he would never ask for a trade. And he made it a real point. Like, I would never ask for a trade. It's not in my nature. Something about scrambled eggs. I don't really remember. I read the way that Shams wrote this tweet, and it does feel very purposeful to me. I'll just read it again. Two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo is ready for a new home at the February at the trade deadline or in the offseason as several teams make an aggressive offer to the Bucks as the Bucks franchise starts to listen. I guess technically he never asked for a trade, Haize. I guess technically he's just ready for something new.
Yeah, I mean, hey, whatever you need to do to make so Giannis can feel like he didn't lie to the Bucks fan base, that's great. I mean, whatever happens at the end of the day, Giannis doesn't want to be there anymore. So I mean, take that for what you want. I still do think the Bucks were stubborn enough that to me this has to come from Giannis. If Giannis didn't say, "Yeah, I'm ready to move on" or whatever, the Bucks would have still been trying to piece together whatever they can. I mean, heck, we just heard a couple of days ago they were still interested in maybe trying to trade for Zach LaVine before Giannis went down. So this was a team that was still very much committed to trying to find some way to keep Giannis happy. But at some point, you just have to come to this realization. I'm glad that they came to this place because honestly, if you made this pivot next year instead of this year in a weaker draft class, you may not get the same assets back. So this is the perfect time for them to do it.
It's too early to have the conversation about what Giannis meant to the Bucks organization and the franchise and all that stuff. Like, there'll be time if and when a trade does happen that we can have that retrospective. But right now, the conversation shifts to what teams can actually make a trade for Giannis right now. With a few days to go before the trade deadline, these kinds of trades are not easy to make. Giannis is owed more than $50 million this year. So even the salary matching part of it is not easy for a lot of teams. Since this Shams report, we've already gotten reports that 3 teams in particular were kind of nudging the Bucks to at least listen to trade offers before the deadline, and those 3 teams are Golden State, Toronto, and Miami. Another team that is going to be a factor in this, it's been reported in multiple instances, is the New York Knicks. So I'm thinking about the teams that can actually trade, the teams I'm watching, in other words, between now and the deadline as a potential Giannis destination. Those are the 4 teams. It's Golden State, Miami, Toronto, and New York. Am I missing anybody there? Does any one of those teams stand out to you, Haize?
Yeah, I mean, Toronto definitely has they've been rumored to want to be really aggressive at this trade deadline for months. So that team doesn't surprise me. The Knicks are always going to be looking for a star. This coincides with us hearing that they're open to shopping Karl Anthony Towns, which I don't know if the Bucks are interested in that. In Miami, I mean, your Miami Heat team, I always say, like, I've learned to never count out the Miami Heat, and for a team that rumored didn't want to get involved in the Ja thing because they didn't want to give up assets that could later be pivoted and used for Giannis. Now this all gives them that opportunity. They could do both. Like the Miami Heat, I would not be surprised at all if they make a swing for Ja and Giannis at this trade deadline. I just really wouldn't.
There's some talk about that locally, Haize. Like could they? Is the price of, in other words, so low on Ja Morant that after you trade for Giannis, you still just have enough to go make the Ja Morant trade? It's really interesting. Potentially pairing Ja Morant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bam Adebayo on one team is quite the big 3, but I don't want to get it too ahead of myself as the host of Locked On Heat. That seems like a lot. I'm overwhelmed. The Miami Heat thing makes sense to me in terms of before the deadline when again this report being like there are teams pushing the Bucks to listen to trade offers for Giannis now because the Heat have a bunch of expiring salaries. They have the Terry Rozier one is the obvious one, but also Norm Powell comes off the books at the end of the year. Wiggins as a player option, so it behooves the Heat to maybe be able to get in on this now because I think your trade offer for the Heat starts with Tyler Hero, probably Khalil Ware has to be in that. They have 2 tradable first round picks. They have, I think, 4 swaps that they can include. Those are, I think all, if not most of that stuff is in there. And then plus you get one of the, maybe like Terry Rozier's expiring can be in there where it couldn't be there in the offseason because it's expiring. So for Miami, I see it. I think that's a good starting point if you're the Bucks. Like if you're getting Hero, if you're getting who you can either have as a Milwaukee, born guy, or you can flip him for something else down the road when he gets healthy. You got Khalil Ware, who is your center of the future right there. And then some first-round picks. That's interesting. Golden State, I think they could trade 4 first-round picks. It's probably, what's the deal there? It's Jimmy Butler and the 4 first? Do they try to, and Kuminga, and then they'll take Kuzma as a tax? Like, hey, we'll take Kuzma off your hands also. And then your Milwaukee, you have 4 first-round picks from a team that has Giannis and Steph. Now, maybe those picks are out enough where, maybe one or two of those ends up being valuable at the tail end of this. I don't know. That's something. I don't know that Kuminga is good enough at this point to be the blue chip young player that I'm getting back, but I'm getting 4 first-round picks. That's something.
Yeah.
And then maybe I could turn Jimmy Butler into something down the road. Toronto is interesting because they have 4 first-round picks that they can move to, plus a bunch of swaps. And then they have, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Brandon Ingram. I don't think that they would move Scotty Barnes, but man, if they did put Scotty Barnes in the deal, that feels like something that
if
could
they
put them
put
over
Scotty
the top.
Barnes in the deal, they have the best offer. With the picks that they have to offer, it's hands down the best talent and combination of current talent and draft picks. And Scotty Barnes still a very young player, so to get that, he just signed an extension too, right? So he was 3 years left on the extension after the season. If they put Scotty Barnes in that, which I don't think they will, that's still the player that they're trying to build around. But if they are willing to do that, I don't think any other team can match that offer.
Do you want to have Barnes and Giannis on the same team? Can they fit together?
I mean, the thing is, we've seen Barnes fit with so many different type of players. I'm not going to count out Scotty Barnes. Like over his time with the Toronto Raptors, they've had so many like long wings and forwards that they just have found a way to make it work. I do think it takes a little bit of hit of the way he scores, but I think that's a sacrifice you have to take if Giannis is coming to your team.
Yeah, to your point, if they include Scotty Barnes, they have the best offer.
Yeah.
Undetermined now. If the other part of this too is that Giannis has to agree basically to any of these trades. Not that he has a veto power on this, like he doesn't have a no trade clause, but he's up for an extension in October. So if he signals to Toronto, I'm not. And by the way, we don't know. We have no idea what Giannis wants. But if he signals to Toronto, Golden State, Miami, or New York, hey, I probably wouldn't sign an extension with you or any other, or then those teams maybe don't want to make that move. So that's another part of this. So a lot more to go on the Giannis trade saga, Haize. We'll keep talking about this, but for now, we're going to talk about LeBron James, who plays what could be his final game in Cleveland tonight. We're going to take a look back on what he meant to the Cavs organization, whether or not he could wear a Cavs jersey one more time before the end of his career.
I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there would be serious consequences. We have a mortgage. We got tuition. We got everyday bills. Those aren't going anywhere if something happens to me. And I know that's an overwhelming feeling, but I'm taking steps to protect my family by getting life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast, easy, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LocdownNBA. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LocdownNBA. That's ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Application times and rates may vary.
Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube. We air Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. The Lakers play the Cavaliers tonight. Some people are wondering if it could be LeBron's final game in Cleveland, should he decide to retire at the end of this season. But if he doesn't retire, according to ESPN and a report from this morning, the Cavs would welcome him back for a third stint when he becomes a free agent this summer. Here's more on tonight's game from Locked On Cavs.
LeBron James is in town. It's a special moment, right? He will always have this relationship with Northeast Ohio that no other player in basketball will have. The Cavs, quite frankly, do not have a championship or even sniff one, I think, in the franchise's history, really, without LeBron James. I think that anytime LeBron is in Cleveland, the reception should be very warm. I think that should be the case from now until the time that he retires. That could be the final time he plays the Cavs. I hope it's not. Or maybe, I don't know, because we've heard so many rumors and there's thoughts out there that he's not going to be with the Lakers next year if he plays, and that the Cavs could be an option for him. And I think that is entirely dependent on what happens with the Cavs when the postseason arrives. But I think that Wednesday night is a special night, and it's one that Cavs fans should cherish.
So, Haize, before we get to the idea of LeBron returning to the Cavaliers and playing for them next year, I do think there's something to be said about celebrating these moments and just recognizing, hey, we don't have a lot of these left, if any. Like, this might be if he does decide to retire, LeBron's last game in Cleveland. When you look at his career, when you think about his time specifically in Cleveland, what's the moment? What's the season? What's the thing that stands out to you about LeBron with the Cavaliers?
I mean, it's of course winning a title, like coming back, winning a title there, I think is major. But it's just that he lived up to every bit of the hype. Like that's always going to be the prevailing thought for me, is that LeBron is one of the few players that all the hype of them coming into the league, all that, we don't get very many of that. He lived up to every bit of it. No matter what you think about LeBron, where he ranks all time, you can't deny he's lived up and exceeded the hype around him, what he's been able to accomplish in his career. And most of that was in the Cavs jersey. I'll go back to the series that he beat finally got past the Detroit Pistons with that team. That was just one of the best series that I've ever seen from LeBron early in his career. Was that year 4 or 5 of LeBron? But he was unstoppable in that series against the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, to see the way that he evolved, the first stint in Cleveland and then the years in Miami and then going back to the Cavs. And I honestly had the stance for a long time that the Miami Heat got the best version of LeBron James. That it was the perfect balance of his athleticism and the basketball IQ, like after he figured out the game and the efficiency. And the more I've thought about that, the more I think that's wrong. I do think those first couple of years in Cleveland, I think that was the best version of LeBron James. I think about those teams that he dragged to the finals post Kyrie Irving, and like those teams had no business being in the NBA finals. And it was because of LeBron James that they not only got there, but I remember, like, everybody remembers like the J.R. Smith blunder at the end of game 1 of the 2018 finals. That Cavs team had no business going toe-to-toe with that Warriors team, and they almost stole the first game of that series. And if they do, who knows? That Warriors team we know now was a little wobbly internally.
Yeah.
And like, who knows if he knocks off that? Like that could have been huge. In that piece from ESPN this morning, they talked about not only the J.R. Smith blunder, but the blocking call that got called on LeBron at the end on the Durant drive, and how that went the Warriors' way. They believe that they got the wrong end of that call, that should have been the call for LeBron, and that they should have gotten the ball back. It should have been a turnover, and they should have had a better opportunity to win that game. LeBron James apparently punched a whiteboard in the locker room at the end of game 1 because of it, hurt his hand, and then they end up getting swept in that series. But I do think that was maybe the best player I've ever seen, was that version of LeBron James. It was just the perfect balance of all of that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, I'm a Bulls fan. I'm always going to think Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time. But I only got to see Michael Jordan play live 4 times in my life. I've gotten to see LeBron James play over 12 times live in my life. Definitely one of the best physical specimens and just pure athleticism and talent that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I didn't pay attention to basketball the way that I pay attention to basketball now. Like when Michael Jordan was playing, I was like, oh, he's really good. Obviously, he's the best in the world. Now I kind of notice, obviously, like I wasn't like 7 years old. I noticed like the nuances and the stuff I actually think about the game. So that's why I say that. But in terms of whether or not he could be a Cavalier again, this is from ESPN's Dave McMenamin, quote, multiple team and league sources told ESPN the Cavaliers would gladly welcome James back this summer if he wanted to return to Cleveland for his 24th NBA season and 3rd stint with the team, end quote. If this is the last year of LeBron James with the Lakers, which it might be, do you like the idea of him going back to Cleveland for just, I guess, nostalgic reasons? And then plus the Cavaliers might be able to use somebody like LeBron James, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, they could definitely use LeBron James. So there's a basketball reason for that, absolutely. But I think, like, we can't overlook the fact that LeBron is very aware of legacy. He's very aware of story. He's a dramatic person. And I don't say that negatively. Mm-hmm. So, like, to end his career and bookend it in Cleveland, I could completely see LeBron being that, especially if he also gets to compete for a title with that, which you would like to think that he can in Cleveland. No, Cleveland's not living up to expectations this year, but you add a LeBron James to that team, I don't see how they don't. So I can completely see that happening.
So Danny Cunningham on his podcast, looking ahead to today's game, mentioned that, yes, there is that possibility out there that it is talked about quite a bit locally. He's I didn't include it in the clip, but he did say on the show, he thinks that if the Cavaliers lose in the playoffs this year, that he could see a world where they try to go get LeBron James again this summer. But if they were to somehow make the finals and win the finals, that they wouldn't bring back LeBron James. I kind of disagree. I think Danny obviously knows more about the Cavs than I do, so he might just be right about this. But I'm like, it's LeBron James. Like, doesn't that transcend all of that stuff? Don't you just say, hey, it's the home. It's the homecoming. Just bring them back, finals or not.
Yeah, I mean, for me, absolutely. If you even if you win, what better story than to say, "Hey, we won a title. We're bringing LeBron back. We're going to go do it again." So I don't see how winning a title, if they were to able to do that this year, that should stop them from bringing LeBron.
I guess maybe
James
LeBron would say, maybe I don't want to go back. But again, it's Cleveland. It's home. Like
Exactly.
it's not Durant going on the Warriors.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you said, Danny knows the Cavs better than anyone, so I'm not going to doubt his expertise there. But for me, if I'm the Cavs, I would want to bring him back regardless.
Speaking of doubting expertise, Doc Rivers talked recently about the most talented player he ever coached, and I think his response might surprise some people. We'll talk about that next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everybody's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with local TurboTax experts in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction possible. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling all of your stuff. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Daily your first listen every day. The Locked On Podcast Network has a show for every team. Check out Locked On Bucks, Locked On Cavs, Locked On Lakers for more on today's top stories. Haize, this is a new segment, a new game that we're playing. We're calling it, for you, Haize, is a self-proclaimed Prince of Petty. It's called Petty or a Buck. And so I'm going to give you a quote, and you're going to tell me if the person saying the quote is being petty or if he's keeping it a buck. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's jump right in. Here is Doc Rivers talking about Joel Embiid. And he says Joel Embiid is the most talented player he's ever coached in his career. I'll remind people, Doc Rivers, the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, while coaching Giannis Antetokounmpo, last night after the Sixers beat the Bucks, said that Joel Embiid was the most talented player he's ever coached in his coaching career. Is he petty or is he keeping it a buck?
I mean, I think I honestly want to say keeping the buck, because I think most talented and best are different. And when you look at Joel Embiid from a skill set perspective, what he's able to do at 7 feet tall, passing, dribbling, shooting, go down in the post, he is one of the most physically talented players that we've ever seen in the NBA. He's a unicorn. He's a true that. Now, is he the best? No, I think that Giannis is amazing. He's coached Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. Like, Doc Rivers coached some really, really great players when it all comes down to it. Yeah, but I want to lean towards saying that I think that he may be keeping it a buck. He has a legitimate, if he really thinks that, there's a case to be made for that, is what I'll say.
No, you're right. It still doesn't make me question the quote. It's like, dude, this is like being like to your wife, like, yeah, the hottest girl I ever dated was this other girl in high school. You're just like, maybe don't say that, dude. Like, even if you mean it, it might not be the right thing to say. Giannis is sitting right there, and then like less than 24 hours after that, Giannis is apparently open to being traded. Not saying that Doc Rivers' quote had anything to do with it, but you're right. Like I guess like
It'll be
on
the best
paper,
thing Doc Rivers has done in 10 years, if that's the case.
could be doing the Bucks a favor, I suppose, depending on what they get for Giannis here. Last one here. Jason Tatum says that there's a lot of pressure that comes with being a Celtic, saying that if he was playing for the Memphis Grizzlies and he had the career that he's already put together, that he would have a statue outside of the Grizzlies arena. Petty or keeping it a buck?
That is petty as hell. I love it. It's super petty. It's there's no other way around it. That is petty as hell, and I love hearing it.
Is it more petty about Celtics fans? Is it more petty for putting down the Grizzlies organization? Or is it more petty towards like the media or the fan bases in general, just being like, I don't get enough credit? Like, where is most of the petty being directed toward?
Man, I think it's more directed probably towards the media, probably. But I mean, you're throwing a dig at the Memphis Grizzlies. Has there been any beef between the Celtics and I don't think anything's happened on the court between. I don't know, man. But that's a petty ass comment. That's for sure.
That's it. I mean, I agree with you. The Tatum stuff is so funny to me also because it's there's so much of the I'm not appreciated kind of thing. You've got Jaylen Brown the other day also saying, I mean, I'll just ask you this one. The Jaylen Brown thing about how he's had to sacrifice so much over the last couple of years. And now that Tatum is out, we're seeing what specifically he's had to sacrifice. And he said so much as we lost a lot of guys and we're still second place in the Eastern Conference. I mean, I'll ask you straight up, Haize, petty or a buck?
That's petty. That's petty. It's a little bit of a buck too, but I'll lean more petty than saying it's keeping it a buck. It's definitely petty.
No champion has ever complained more than the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
They love to complain about stuff. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks to Haize for his expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA Daily.